Hello, welcome to another edition of Prove All Things. I want to thank everybody who's joining us today, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, X, or the CGI Digital Network app. We thank you for joining us, and to everyone else who's watching later, thanks for joining us as well. I'm joined with co-host Mike James. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Jeff, doing well. Good to see you here on July 7th. I want to say that because this is a recorded program. We'll be showing this tomorrow, which is Tuesday, July 8th.
Yeah.
And I have a question, Jeff. Someone asked me when we had that recording on the week of 4th of July, they were on and they seemed to be putting comments in the comment box. Is it possible that people tomorrow, when they're watching the show, even though it's not live, they can put live comments in there?
They can make comments, but it's not going to show up on the screen.
Okay, got it.
This
Okay,
program's pre-recorded. But
got it.
definitely put your comments out there and discussions, and you can send questions and comments to me and Mike. You can send let's see, Mike. There's Mike's email address if you have any questions or comments, complaints. You send them to Mike right
Yeah,
there.
feedback.
Feedback. And any questions, comments, or anything you'd like to say, you can email me as well. So how things been going for you this past week?
Things have been going pretty good. A little
Yeah.
bit of activity with the holiday and everything. We went to the Hollywood Bowl. My brother had extra tickets there for Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm not into Earth, Wind, and Fire. My wife is. So we ended up going. I had to wheel my mother in a wheelchair. We were all the way at the top, so we were pushing her up in a wheelchair because she has trouble walking with the arthritis. So it was real nice venue if you've never been there. It's up in the Hollywood Hills there, and the sound is really good up there. And they had a fireworks show, so had a good time.
Yeah, I've seen stuff that's been recorded there, so I guess it's a well-known venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my family, we were on a cruise this past week, so we were in several countries. We were in Mexico and Jamaica, the Bahamas
Oh,
for the 4th of
where in
July.
Jamaica? Where did you stop in Jamaica?
Falmouth, Jamaica, and
Okay.
went to a place called Mystic Mountain. It's like
Okay, I've heard of that.
like a little. You take these little like lift up to the top of the mountain, which is a real beautiful view while you're taking this lift because it's up there like 700 feet high, and you can look out and see the ocean and stuff.
Oh,
And
nice.
there's like a bobsled you can take at the top, a little bobsled run you can ride.
Oh, is that where they did the practice for the Cool Runnings
No,
movie?
it's not a practice. It's more of a tourist thing. But it's
Okay, okay.
kind of more of a mountain coaster. But it was fun, and we did a lot of fun things. It was a good relaxing week, and got back to work yesterday, and a lot to do today. Because tomorrow I will be going to summer camp. We got our Searchlight the Spotlight summer camp. Got nearly 40 kids from around the country are coming out to be a part of this, and we got a lot of people working on it, so it's going to be our first time doing this camp, and we're looking forward to it, and looking forward to the kids having a good time.
Yeah, speaking of camp, that tragedy in Texas is just too bad, man. Those kids right on the river there, and just an unexpected occurrence, and boom, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on in Texas? That's just terrible. So definitely are in our prayers.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, so we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest today. One of our favorite guests. I always say that, but he is one of our favorite guests. Like I could do like Trump and like it's the best guest ever, right?
Yeah.
But one of our favorite guests, we have Bill Lussenheide. How you doing, Bill?
Well, hi guys.
Hey, Bill, good to have you back.
Yeah, you guys are two of my favorite hosts.
Well, thank you.
Mutual Admiration Society. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Good to have you, man. How you been?
I've been unbelievable. A lot of interesting things have been going on in my life and all that. It's been an education. I'm an old guy, and but there are interesting things that do happen in life that even for a guy who's been around the block a lot, have some interesting experiences that are quite memorable.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah. So can you just give us just a short bio about you again, just real short about who you are, where you're from, what you've been doing, and
Well, I've
then
been
we'll get into your
around
discussion.
the libertarian movement now for over 53 years. And so again, seeing a lot of changes in that and the like. Uh, Always sad when you see people passing away that you knew them when they were young, right?
Hmm.
Wow, it's sobering and all that. Uh, I had the recent experience of just winning the office of treasurer for the Montana GOP
Hmm.
here in Montana. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations.
There's some Church of God groups that very much frown upon political involvement.
Hmm.
But I have to say, in my speech that I gave and campaign that I had, I was very quite open about my faith in Jesus Christ, my belief in the Ten Commandments, uh, the whole bit, right? You know, I went all the way with it. And so the reason I'm saying that is that we don't need to be embarrassed about who we are. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, they know that even at potlucks, Bill doesn't eat pork chops.
Hmm.
Well known, right? It's funny. I get accommodated, and I don't even have to ask. And so, be transparent. Be who you are. Be a servant, and people will respect it. We don't have to be shy about what we believe and what we do. Okay, we don't have to be weird.
Hmm.
Get out there, and I am probably the highest elected position of anyone that I know of, anyway, from the entire Church of God movement
Hmm.
and the like. And so I take that with great responsibility. And being the treasurer in what our slogan is, the treasure state. So I'm the treasurer of the treasure state,
Hmm.
and so I will serve well and honest. And there's no Judas lurking within me. Believe me,
Okay.
not
All
like
right.
Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to know that you're good with money.
a tightwad. That's who you want. That's who you want over the treasury is the a tightwad.
Hmm.
So there's that. But anyway,
Well, I know most people who know who are tightwads are significantly wealthier than those who aren't. So that's just a good
well,
characteristic
I'm
to
a
have.
registered investment advisor, and I manage
Yeah.
mutual funds and that type of thing. I do financial planning for people, and uh, saving is important. Okay, and believe me, Terry and I, in our younger years, yeah, we ate a lot of macaroni and cheese. All right, thank
Mhm.
goodness we did, because every dollar that you can squirrel away when you're 20 is worth about 32 times that when you're 65. And
Mhm.
so again, my kids give me a hard time because they're adults, but they say I take all the fun out of a chocolate shake because it's $3 or something. I go, that'll be $59 in 29 years. Oh, yeah, you got to enjoy the moment too, and I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But I know we're here for a purpose, and you want me to introduce what we're going to be talking about
Yeah,
today?
definitely. The topic you had is a topic. I guess it's kind of a futurism type topic. Something definitely I'm interested in. And I guess we are as a church because we are looking toward the future, a better future than what we have right now. But this is, I think, a very interesting thing you have here. So go ahead.
Well, we're going to talk about a book that came out, a very popular book around 1970 by Alvin Toffler called Future Shock.
Hmm.
And even then, the amount of information overflow that is coming to people, the massive change affects people. Now, with the internet and the information age and all that, I mean, we are just constantly bombarded with ideas and with change and with concepts and news. And it can wear on you. I think it can actually overload you, or even give you stressors and all of that. You just spoke about those beautiful young girls that died in that flood and all that, and yet you go from that into another news story, and
Mhm.
and you can get calloused. All right, and I think Alvin Toffler uh, wanted to address that. My own grandmother, who was born in 1885, okay, uh,
Hmm.
up here in the wilderness, right on the farm. No, she lived till 1970.
Wow.
I talked to
Yeah.
her
Wow.
when I was about 14, And I talked to her about what was it like being a young lady? What was it like being 14 in 1899? Well, hey, Billy, no electricity, no record player, no radio, TV. You went to church whether you were religious or not, because that was the highlight social activity of the week, and you got to dress up and get a penny candy and a newspaper and sing song, hear music. All right. So she went from that to seeing a man on the moon. All right.
Yeah.
And so the key is processing all this information. All right. Can we stay as human beings and still keep our soul and our wits about us? It's a very important concept to explore. And I wanted to hit on a few of those concepts.
Yeah. Just the amount of change that's taken place. So she was, how old was she when she died?
She was 85.
85.
85 years old.
85.
Good life.
And so people who are alive, who are 85 now, I guess there's a lot changed in their lifetimes too.
Well,
I would think.
you think about, okay, 85, that would be 1940. All right.
Yeah. From
And
1940 to now, wow, that's a big change as well.
they didn't have television, they didn't have computers, didn't have TV, didn't have satellites up in outer space, and the like. And I remember even when I first came into church, just going to Tucson for the Feast of Tabernacles, right? It was like, wow, that's like we're going to Pluto or something. Now I flew from nonstop from Los Angeles International Airport to Istanbul, Turkey, in a single day. Right? You think about that. Yeah, people didn't do that. They drove to the Feast of Tabernacles, and if somebody flew to Saratoga Springs in New York, oh, those are the rich people. Those are the elite. Okay, it's just, even within my church career, we'll call it, I've seen an awful lot of change on how we're approaching life and travel and those types of things. But the information,
it makes me think. I was thinking, I was on a cruise this past week, and like cruising back maybe 100 years ago, that was like the wealthiest of wealthy, unless you were the poor people down in the galley or whatever. And now you can get a cruise for $300 a person or something. So it's,
well, look at this. Look at this. This is almost unthinkable what we're doing. You think about this, right? It's incredible what we're doing. We don't have a studio. We're able to do this on the internet.
Yeah, this would have cost, like 10 years ago, this would have cost a lot of money, and now it doesn't cost hardly anything.
Just think of church itself. A lot of people are staying home because of this type of thing too. It's changed. You said your grandmother was going there because it was social time. That has changed a lot now with the internet. People can find their niche with some group. They don't need church anymore.
Well, all right. So we've got robotics, and that is incredible what's going on. AI, but mess around with AI, the creativity you can do with it, and for writing and everything else.
Yeah.
Unbelievable amounts of change that are happening. It's going to revolutionize. We're facing an era of robotics. I just visited my son in Michigan. He has a self-driving Tesla. I've never been in a self-driving car, and let me tell you, that car is smart.
Yeah.
Screen, and it almost has a radar. It'll even show you as a passenger, like beep 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 beep. There's a dog over there, and it puts a red thing over it, and it's like, I know it's there. But the wheel's spinning by itself, and the turn signal comes on, and let me tell you, it's uncomfortable, but that car was fantastic. It knew what it was doing. We went through roundabouts and the whole thing. And so automation is going to come. Will the day come that we don't need a Jeff and a Mike?
They got those Whammo cars in LA driving all over the place. Over in Phoenix, I went to speak there recently. One pulled up right next to me. Nobody's driving.
It's very weird, and it's going to affect us psychologically.
Yeah, you mentioned will you need us anymore? Like I've been working with the AI, the video producing stuff, and it's gotten so good that it probably could do a whole podcast like we're doing with three different people discussing a topic, and you want to know the difference.
No,
that's how good it's gotten.
I could take your face actually and have you talking, and the real is it's in the information flow and all this. It's going at not a arithmetic pace. It's logarithmic. Okay. and what even as incredible as what we have now, just 2 to 5 years from now, it's going to be unreal. It's changing the nature of war with
Right.
Yeah.
robotics, drones, and all that. It's not a matter of a courageous soldier out there and fighting hand to hand. It's not the way it is. We bombed Tehran from Missouri. They flew all the way
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of literally the other side of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
nonstop, drop bombs undetected. Incredible. All right, so we're facing information overload. We really are.
Mm-hmm.
People have relationships with other people online. Uh, they're saying that the pornography explosion. There's people. They're saying that they prefer to have that relationship than to have a real relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
people, the video games. The kids are hooked into the video games. It's never really appealed to me, but
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, they create a whole universe, a whole ego, and a whole identity
Mm-hmm.
on video games and the like. And so virtual reality
Mm-hmm.
and that type of thing, it's affecting us. It's going to affect our spirituality. I think.
Hey, did you ever watch Star Trek, Bill?
Oh yeah,
With like the holodeck
sure.
that they had on Star Trek? Like
It's
that technology for a holodeck is not that far away. Like
no,
with all the things I've seen and what they can do in AI and all, it's really
They
close. And
they've
most
done
of what people do.
they've done concerts with dead performers as a hologram up on stage singing the songs.
yeah, no. I mean, it's going to be great. You can have the Beatles right there in your living room.
Yeah.
So again, let's. I wrote down 10 concepts that came out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to address those. And I don't think we can do it completely in this program, but maybe we can revisit it again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But point one is that too much change too short. How's that going to affect us psychologically? All right, can we cope with it? And I think you realize we see a rising homeless population, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see people more and more that are just can't integrate into the system
Mm-hmm.
economically, and that's because only 120 years ago, 80% of people lived on the farm. How tough is it? You got to go out there and pick the apples, or plow the field and that type of
Right.
thing. You have everybody get involved. You could have 6-year-old kids help them work on the farm.
Right.
Now with this sophistication,
Yeah.
there's people that are just intermediated out of the economic system, and that's going to increase.
Yeah. Well, I guess with the farm, right? Didn't you have all these big equipment, right, that can like harvest and stuff and plant all these big, industrialization of farming. So it eliminated jobs, really.
Well, my brother-in-law is in national produce business, a large, huge company.
Yeah.
And so I see video. We talk a lot, so I get videos about harvesting and all this. And that is absolutely incredible. We don't need millions of illegal immigrants harvesting our crops. We don't.
Mhm.
It's just that's not really necessary. I mean, you got machines that can pick carrots. You actually have machines that can look through strawberry fields and with AI and the whole bit, tell whether or not a strawberry is ready to be picked. Because you just don't clear cut with strawberries. You got to go through and pick them when they're the right ripeness.
Wow.
And these machines have eyes, and they know, okay, that's the one to pick,
Mhm.
and so forth. And it processes it on the machine and boxes it. It's incredible. So the future is going to be, no doubt about it, that you're going to have sophisticated skills
Mhm.
because low end labor is going to be replaced at a lot of different levels. Look, even in my business,
Yeah.
investment advisory, they're already talking about
Mhm.
AI replacing the human, right?
Yeah, I mean,
We've got
that's definitely out there. Have you been to McDonald's lately, where they
yeah,
have the kiosk
yeah,
and you just go to the kiosk and you have to push the buttons on there to order your food?
yeah. And they want robot. They're already working on robotics at McDonald's.
Hey, as soon as McDonald's can get robots making burgers, the people's gone. I know that for a fact. As soon as they get robots, the people are gone in
Yeah, they'll have
McDonald's.
a staff of 3 people. All right,
Yeah.
for a whole McDonald's. And so we're going to face economic pressures that way. And through the Industrial Revolutions, since we'll call it about 1830, there's disintermediation, and people are going to have to learn new skills. All right, that's just all there is to it. and that will have an effect. And with the change of economy, it used to be, not within my own lifetime, was the idea that, well, I went to work for Boeing and I'm going to have a career there for the next 45 years, or I'm working for GM, I'll be there for 45 years. No, you're going to have probably 6 or 7 different bosses in a career. You're kind of throwaway. And what does that do for people's spirituality? What does that do for people's self-worth, that you're bouncing around and all my work evaporated?
Yeah, people have a rough time with change to begin with. So if you're going through more change, that's going to be more turbulent for you psychologically. I get your point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look in our church culture, right? There's been a lot of change
Yeah.
in our Church of God culture, even.
Yes.
We've had to transition to, 2-3 different organizations and all that. And you feel like you're not important. People want to feel a sense of permanence. I think God wants that. I think we're going to find a restoration of that in the kingdom of God, to where people can sort of feel a sense of community. But let's just say, I think for all of this that we're addressing, what is sacrificed in this is love and brotherhood. Love and brotherhood for efficiency. All right. For, all of this economic change, a technological change in life, you become a throwaway person. You become a 17-digit account number. I have a few of those 17-digit account numbers, right? It's like some of these numbers, for your driver's license or social security or bank account, I think it's a number bigger than the number of visible photons in the universe or something. I don't know why they need numbers that big, but that's all you are. And you're shopping at Costco and you're buying the same stuff everybody else is buying. And you're driving the same Ram pickup truck that 5 million other people here in Montana are driving. And so you're not special. I will propose that you ever see these people do extreme things on the internet? I'll jump out of an airplane without a parachute, right? Literally, I saw that, and jumping into a net, or weird acrobatic stuff and freaky stuff. I think all this is in reaction to, I want to be special. I want to stand out. I want to be loved. And it's very hard in this future shock environment that we're in to feel that you have worth and value and so forth. And I think that's one of the side effects of what we're facing. Look, loneliness. This leads to loneliness. Higher alcoholism rates, drug rates of those go along with that as well. Again, these are the issues we're facing with future shock and information shock, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
Have you ever heard of the concept of the singularity with AI?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So that concept is basically, there's going to come a point where AI is smarter than humans. And once that happens, where the AI is able to be smarter than humans and can now create things that humans could never even think of and stuff.
Well,
And so,
you're a Star Trek guy. They had the robot Data.
yeah.
And they'll come. It says, "Will AI have civil rights? Does it have a right to exist? Does it have? Is it autonomous? And does it have the right to its own sapient thinking?" And all
Yeah.
there's debates about whether or not that's possible or not. But
Yeah. Well, I guess we don't know if it's possible or not. But and again, I don't think AI will ever be like conscious the way we are, because like our consciousness comes from God, right? I don't think God's going to give computers a spirit.
there is, that now we're going to get to what is the nature of the soul. All right.
Yeah.
There is something there. All right. However, because I do mess around with AI,
Yeah.
I don't want to be left behind. I was a little slow on the personal computing way back in the 80s. I said, no, I got to stay cutting edge on things. And you're almost like a god. I hate to say that, but I can create things and create pictures and write. Boy, I've become a great writer thanks to AI. No, it's amazing for the creativity that's there. And I've noticed even in the last year, it's getting smarter. It's getting better. Because every time we are engaged with it, it learns something too from us, right? It's getting sharper and smarter and the like. For deep research, it's incredible.
Yeah, one of the things, there was a study that was just done. You can look it up and find it, but the study basically, what they did is they had students in college use AI to study for exams,
Yeah.
and then also to use Google to study for exams. And they found out that people who use AI are dumber than people who would just do research on their own. So AI is making us dumber in a sense. Because again, like today, we're gonna have a summary of this show. And you know what I'm gonna do to get the summary of this show? I'm gonna take a transcript that AI generates. I'm gonna put it into Chat GBT and say, "Give me a summary of this show," and it's gonna do a better job than I could even think of giving us a really good summary of what we talked about today. So
And much faster,
much
right?
faster. It does it in like a couple of seconds.
So it's lost with future shock,
Yeah,
critical reasoning.
yeah.
Okay.
So they're
And
just gonna make
Yeah.
us
So
dumber.
what do you think about that? The fact that if we aren't thinking as much as we used to because of these tools, what do you think the ramifications are down the road? Especially when you think about the fact you really have to critical think to understand what the Bible's saying or what God is trying to impart to you. What do you guys think about that?
being alone and meditative and pursuing critical reason, okay, is becoming a lost art. All right. It
Mhm,
is part of the Christian walk too. It really is. And I deliberately unplug. You have to unplug. I
mhm,
deliberately take walks in the woods and I'm meditating and praying or thinking or even listening to sermons and that type of thing. It's a lost art. And what will happen is people will simply submit to authority. They will submit to authority. And that's a dangerous thing. It's a
mhm,
very, very dangerous thing. Autonomy is lost. All right. And people will just roll along with to get along. Uh,
mhm,
is society better now? I would argue that it's not, and
mhm.
I'm seeing a lot of dysfunction in all areas of life. Uh, again, it's just because of lack of critical reason.
Yeah,
And
the concern about TikTok and different applications like that is whoever controls it can influence
Mhm.
that application, can influence what's coming across to you. So again, you've got different things out there that can influence you, but that's one of the concerns that's it's kind of hidden behind the scenes
so
is,
listen,
oh, if China has control of this, they can push an agenda in
Yeah.
some of those little videos. Now,
sure,
again, if you're critically thinking, you can see that. You
Mhm.
can see what's happening. But again, a lot of younger people are not as critical thinkers
Right.
as older people because of the lifestyle they've been leading up
Mhm.
until this point in time.
Hey,
well,
Mike, that right there. There's been yeah, I guess you've written articles on this, I think, and done even some research. But basically, I think in the 1990s, the people who identified as LGBTQ was like maybe 1% of the population. But with this youngest generation who have all this influence
yes,
from TikTok and all these things going on, it's like 20 or 30%. It's like that
That's a great point.
that has to be coming from this technology. It's
no,
not coming
it does
from
because
reality.
in the end, people we're social animals. Okay, if I
Yeah.
call myself an animal, right? We're in the image of God, but
Mhm,
people want to join. They want to. They don't want to be different.
mm,
Leadership requires that we joked about a little bit before the program. Leadership requires being hated. Being hated. Okay, being hated by the right people. Okay,
mhm,
but when all of your media and we're constantly soaked with media and information, news, and
mhm,
connecting and so forth. You want to join in. You don't want to be an iconoclast,
mhm,
and especially if there's the social pressure around you, and that is definitely getting lost because people don't want to stand out and say, "Hey, no, that's messed up."
mhm.
And oh, well, what's wrong with you, right? Look
Right.
at all the problems that go on with the bullying and all that, even high school kids and all that that
Mhm.
go on. You got kids that are killing themselves because of the propaganda that somebody starts to write stuff on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the amount of peer pressure for younger people is amazing, but frankly, even for older people. And so, whoever's controlling the um, the media, whoever's controlling the thought process that's going out there,
Mhm,
tremendous influence because people want to conform.
mhm.
So one of the things we have to do as Christians, we have to teach nonconformity. All right.
Yeah.
You're weird and get used to it, okay? And there's people that are going to hate you and get used to it. That's a lot different than being like grandma on a farm, outside of Helena in 1899, where they didn't even see people all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they would just work all week on the farm, go have dinner, maybe pet the cows or whatever. Compared to kids now who are just on their phone all the time, swiping and looking at
Yeah.
things, being influenced. There's a big difference. You're right.
Yeah, that is a huge difference, and I think it's going to have dramatic effect on our culture and society down the road. Yeah.
Well, I'll bring in another point. It was point 4. We've covered the first 3 pretty well. It's over choice and decision fatigue. We have so many choices now. It's funny. I just happened to look up a picture of a rake on the internet.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, I've got like 20 different rake companies on my timeline and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, it's kind of spooky. It's like mind reading, right? And the like. But there's 39 different varieties of toilet paper at the market, right? Do you want scented? Do you want pink? Do you want white? It's just, 14 versions of ketchup. We've got all these decisions that we've got to make,
Mhm.
what to eat and so on and so forth. It was a lot simpler, again, back in Grandpa's day. We're going to meet.
That's an interesting point, because my daughter's only 17 now, and
Mhm.
I find that she has trouble making decisions sometimes. She'll come to me, what should I do about this? What should I do? And I'm just like, well, just do that. Just pick, and so maybe there's something there. I haven't done enough research on her yet as to
Yeah.
why she's having trouble making decisions, but she's grown up with that phone. Yeah.
Well, my 2 older sons are married, and I tease them. I go, where they met their wives? On the internet,
Oh,
with
wow.
sort of dating
That's
service.
where most people meet their wives now or
Maybe
husbands.
it's a good thing. I don't know. But the thing is this: back in my day, let me sound like an
Yeah.
old. You had to work up strength over 6 weeks. You're a nervous wreck, and
Mhm.
Sally, you can say no if you want to, but and again, you can say no, but I'd like to go with coffee with you, but you can say no. And your heart is beating all crazy and everything like that.
Mhm.
It's too easy. I tease my sons. I go, it's way too easy for you using the internet. But again, you look at this, what they call it, slide right. Oh, she's got buck teeth. No thanks.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's just it's dehumanizing in a way too.
Yeah.
If you think about that, right? You're just looking
Yeah,
at
well, people make the most superficial choices, when you're looking online than really getting to know someone.
yes, exactly. I mean, even my wife, we were talking about this morning. I mean, the amount of shopping she does now,
Mhm.
a lot of it's through Amazon or from
Mhm.
Kohl's and that kind of thing. She goes, there's something lost about just the social interaction of shopping.
Yeah.
Now she still goes to Costco and that thing for food, but even that could be bypassed. You got
Mhm.
delivery services and all. If you want to be a hermit, this is the best time. If you're a hermit, this is the best time of all to be a hermit.
Yeah,
Okay, really, really can drop out if you want to, but
yeah, everything is, delivered to you now, yeah.
let's talk spiritually. All right, there's it used to be in the churches that don't read other things, right? Well, there
Yeah.
wasn't that much to read. Okay, you can find anything you want to find, every doctrinal issue,
Yeah.
nth degree, but the most fringe
Yeah.
twig issue, like
Yeah, that's a big issue right
Yeah.
now, Bill. I'll tell you, the amount of people who are getting interested in apocryphal and pseudepigraphal books, because they're finding somebody online who's saying this is a lost book of the Bible and here's why. And if
Mhm.
you don't know anything else and you start reading some of those articles, you could get swayed by some of that information.
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
the Book of Enoch or Judith,
Yeah.
Book of Thomas, and Lost Gospel. Where
Yeah.
there's these lost gospels. It's a secret way, and of course, a lot of this. There's a whole with the information age and information overload. you get conspiracy ideas. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even,
Those are too widespread. Yes.
but even biblically, right?
Mhm.
These are
You know
hidden.
what? Hey, you mentioned hermits. People are becoming spiritual hermits.
Yes. I
Yeah.
don't need to go to
People are
church.
becoming spiritual hermits.
I don't need to go. I could just listen to stuff online. All right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all
We're
that.
And pick
seeing
what I
deep.
want. Like I don't like this guy, so I'll watch this person, and I'll just and I won't. I'll cater religion to be exactly what I want it to be for me, rather than change myself to be what God wants me to be.
Okay.
Right, right. No, that's a great point that Jeff is making. We get to pick and choose now because of the changes in society. When before you had to go to church, you might not like that speaker, but if you sat there and listened to it and tried to get something from it, you could. But now people are saying, oh, I don't want to listen to that. I'm going to go over
Yeah.
here. I'm going to go over there.
Yeah.
So again, with choice overload, we'll call this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here's the good thing about Paul says, don't uh, uh, drop out. You need to get together. Don't forbear the meeting with the brethren. Right? Paul said that.
Yeah.
And I'll propose why this is good. Every one of us is a little weird. Every one of us gets a little bit goofy ideas,
Mhm.
a little bit out of the box. And what's good about meeting with people is they can round those corners and say, you know what, I think you're getting stupid.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
there's great value in saying, hey, you know what, you're getting a little weird. All right.
Yeah. I know what you mean because I've had some weird ideas and I brought them up to some people and they're like, and they just tell you like they can immediately tell you why you're wrong and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
You know, this,
I understand. Yeah.
because of the information flow and of choice. What do you get? Let me ask you this: when it comes to picking a teacher, all right, a religious teacher, a minister, and so forth. If you're able to float around, okay, are you going to find? You're going to go with people that are basically going to agree with you on everything, and you'll find that.
Mhm.
You'll find people that say, "I've discovered the ark, and I know where it is," and whatever, and it will feed upon itself. The earth is flat, right? And
Mhm.
you'll find even in the Sabbatarian community, wow, boy,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this guy
Hey,
believes.
somebody from the Sabbatarian community sent me a book about that thick about why the earth is flat.
Yeah, yeah, no, no doubt about it. You gotta, and we've got to deal with that. We've got to try to address that because there are people that are promoting that and pushing that.
Mhm.
So listen. There's extreme ideas that are sinful and all that. We can't have anything to do with that.
Right.
But when it's so easy to find information sources that will legitimize or prop up your goofiness, it's dangerous. I think it's
Yeah,
dangerous. All right. And
Also, another thing is that people will go to like Strong's or these sources and think that they're an expert now in the Greek
yeah,
language or an expert in Hebrew, and they come up with their own wacky ideas
right,
based upon
right.
these original sources you can get. You
you know,
know.
I mean, it just
Yeah, no doubt. I've been dealing with that also, where they'll say the Greek word can mean this,
Yeah.
therefore it must mean this in this particular verse,
Yeah.
and they're missing a lot there when they do that.
all right.
Mhm.
I'll boil down why I think this happens though. It's again because none of us we live in a society where you're just not esteemed. People want to feel special, okay,
Mhm.
and they want to feel loved. And going down these tracks, and there's so many of them, we can go on and on. You could probably do several programs on this. Uh, I'm special. I've got special knowledge, right? I'm an insider. It goes on in politics too, by the way. All kinds of weird conspiracy theories about that. You know,
Mhm.
uh, President Obama was a lizard or something. I've seen some crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm important. I'm an insider. I'm esteemed because I know and other people don't. And so eh,
Mhm.
I think again it's a false way to try to feel loved and esteemed. You got to be plugging in and realize, hey, look, God loves you. All right.
Mhm.
I'm, very evangelical there, but God does love you and you're important. Okay. You
Mhm.
don't have to go down some weird boulevards to be able to have a sense of self worth.
Mhm.
So I think that's where a lot of this comes down to because we've encountered it. You've all encountered it. I've encountered it. People get the pet doctrine, and man, they milk that thing.
Mhm.
Some of it's just really out there. It doesn't really matter at all, really. Uh, you know,
Mhm.
to the price of bread, if you know what I'm saying. But it
Yeah.
becomes a standing standoff, and unless you, pastor, get there with me, I can't attend here anymore. I got to be with you because you're no
Mhm.
good. Uh,
It's like with some young people out there who are using AI, and they get the answers quickly, and they think there's an answer for everything because there's so much ease now to get
Mhm.
information. People think that there must be an answer for everything. There must be an understanding of everything, and
Mhm.
what they're missing is that there's not. We
Yeah.
don't know everything. We don't
Yeah.
understand
well,
everything.
okay, I think we'll call it enlightenment. All right. Uh, we live in the era of 25-word answers.
Yeah.
You can ask the
Mhm.
computer, right, for anything. How to be successful, how to invest money. It's all
Mhm.
there, right? How to lose weight. It's all there. Okay,
Yeah.
and in 25 words or less. And so we're into the 30-second
Mhm.
commercial.
Mhm.
We're into the 30-minute program where the whole universe gets solved in 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And a hamburger at McDonald's in 1.5 minutes, right? So that's part of the information overload thing as well. All right.
Yeah, one of the things about the large language models like ChatGPT, when you ask it something, it's not necessarily giving you the correct answer. It's just giving you the answer based upon it just looked at all the stuff on the internet and
Yeah.
what somebody would normally respond to this answer. In other
Yes.
words, it's generating you an answer. It doesn't have to be right, but it's
Yeah.
giving you an answer. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing, because I've had some young people who are saying, "Well, AI said this," and
Yeah,
they start believing like that is the Wizard of Oz or something.
and it's not.
Yeah. It's not the Pandora's box, right?
Mhm.
What is a Pandora's box, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, the two trees thing's very interesting story. It was the knowledge of good and evil.
Hmm.
And I used to wonder when I first learned about this, right? Well, what's wrong with the knowledge of good, right?
Hmm.
No, it's when you're saying I can derive wisdom and truth without the pillar posts of God and His commandments and all
Hmm.
that. They are
Hmm.
timeless, all right. And so, does AI care what the Ten Commandments say? Not necessarily.
No.
And so again, it will be infecting us that way. We need to be aware. We simply need to be aware so that we don't go along with the tide with all the other dead fish going down the river and all that.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, information overload leading to too much choice. But it's just too much choice. And by the way, in marketing, I'm a marketing guy.
Hmm.
They discovered though that when you offer too many choices, you create a paralysis. That's what
Yeah.
happens. People will not choose anything because I'm just being overloaded with too many catch-up choices.
Hmm.
So stores sort of realize that they want to put the three major brands at eye level
Hmm.
because they realize if you make too many choices for people, people they get paralyzed.
They won't make a
That's a
choice.
great
Yeah, they
point.
will make a choice.
I've missed some items that were either on the bottom or the top shelf because I was focused in that mid range. And I go and ask the person, where is this? It's supposed to be here. They come and look for it. They find it either at the bottom or at the top. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Listen, my wife, she knows where everything is in the refrigerator. This is a common male problem. I'll open it up and I can't find anything. It's like the mayonnaise could be right there, right? It's right,
Mhm.
but where mayonnaise,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
because there's so much stuff in there, and I don't know what the system is. There's reason to the madness, and most guys get confused by how the wife arranges the refrigerator. All right,
Uh-huh.
and so again, we're facing that. What if there's all these choices religiously? Okay, you're going to get overloaded, or you just give up. You just
Mhm.
how about if you're an innocent seeker, you realize there's a God, there's a creation, you're
Mhm.
sensing that, you're starting to read the Bible a little bit, and you get in there, and all of a sudden you're bombarded with all this crudola.
Mhm.
I can easily see where somebody will just say, you know what, I quit.
Yeah.
Religion's nutty. You can make it say whatever you want it to say,
Yeah.
and you can make the Bible say whatever you want to say. I mean, I read a thing the other day. It said that David was homosexual because his love of Jonathan was like that of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I saw another one where it said, "Oh, certainly a man should not lust for another man. We should love one another and be married." Right? It's like you can make it say whatever you can make it
Yeah.
say whatever you want it to say, and so that helps people to give up. Just give.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
well, I would push back a little bit. You can make it say whatever you want to say if you're being dishonest with yourself and with God. You can make it say what it would. But if you're being honest, it only says one thing. You know, it's just that
well,
people use it to make it say something else, right?
I'll just say that I'll simplify some things
Yeah,
for folks. If it's indulgent, it's
yeah,
probably wrong. Okay,
right.
because you got to look at it and say, if I like it too much, it's probably wrong.
Hmm.
And I'm a sinner. If I like something too much, I'm indulging myself
Yeah,
there. I'm looking for an excuse for my will. Okay, so God's will, you got to go there that way. And frankly, we're disciples, and disciples, the same kind of word as discipline.
hmm,
We got to embrace this Christian walk is about embracing some pain. Boy, that's not a happy thought, right? That I'm going to get in there and I got to start rowing the boat.
hmm,
Okay. The yoke is light.
hmm.
Christ didn't say that there is no yoke at all. Oh, there's a yoke.
Yeah,
It's a lighter yoke than being in the world, right? But there's a price to be paid. But again, with the information overload, how much do you get this? It's like, hey, you can lose 22 pounds by just, drinking our special tea mix that we have.
right, right.
Everything's simple, quick, 30-second answers. We're bombarded with that too in the information overload of future shock.
Hmm.
And this process of spiritual growth, it's going to take some time.
Hmm.
When I got baptized, it wasn't all of a sudden, boy, I was just some superhuman, spiritual, fantastic guy. Frankly, I didn't really feel any kind of a difference at all, right? The process of 50 years being baptized now and the growth, it's been remarkably slow, I will confess. And
Hmm.
it's having to hang in there and embrace the pain of change and the disciplines of life and all that. And it's going to take time. Is that the message that we're hearing today? Are we getting that message from anywhere?
Yeah,
That, hey, this is going to be tough. You got to man up, spiritually speaking.
yeah,
It's going to be a process. Nobody wants to hear that. There are others that are going to fill that role and say, uh, you can do it quick, the easy and quick
yeah.
spirituality. It's out there, even within the Sabbatarian movement. And so again, a big part of future shock. I see we're moving along. I'll try to get to a couple more topics here. Um, let's see. About technology is not neutral. It develops how we think and act and react. We actually went through that.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I got this. Here's one a good topic to move into: the death of permanence. The death of permanence.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, typically, you've got 60% of all marriages end up in divorce, and even within the Christian community, it's a very high percentage. So,
Yeah.
what's the deal? The expectation you can have 2 or 3 spouses in a lifetime. You're going to have the average amount of employers you're going to have is about 7. Right? It's how about used to be even when I was a kid, even in the city, people lived in those houses for a long time. They lived in the city for 30 years. People are on average moving about once every 5 to 7 years. And now they're moving all over the country. Not just moving, down the road. It's
Hmm.
the death of permanence is definitely an overload.
Yeah.
And all this,
People are getting married older and they're having more relationships. Like you said, more marriages. Again, the permanence of one man, one woman life is not there like it used to be.
no, and even the concept of virginity, even amongst we'll call it the world, even
Yeah.
just 50 to 80 years ago, uh, people, typically now they're going to have a dozen partners or more in their lifetime, and that creates its own future shock. If you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
lack of permanence, uh, but I think people like having permanence. It gives you a sense of stability and calm.
Hmm.
And I deal with the markets all the time, and part of my business. They're constantly in flux. It's stressful, and all of this it creates a type of PTSD. it creates mental illness to some degree or another. All this lack of permanence, okay? Because without permanence, you feel insecure. You don't know which way the next blow is going to come. Stuff can come out of left field, out of right field, even the news cycle. All right. Uh, you think about it. You're here in Montana in 1920. You didn't have to hear about uh, disasters happening in Calcutta or something, right? It wasn't part of the deal. Even as Christians, think about how much now. Maybe you go to a congregation once upon a time, and there was a couple people that were sick in the congregation, or the like. You could maybe deal with that. Now
Yeah.
you hear about tragedy even within the church from around the world.
No, that's a great point, because I get notes from different parts of the church on their sick list, and we've got our own sick list. And sometimes it's overwhelming to say, wow, look at all these people. You know?
So guess what? I'll make the confession here. Are my prayers granular, about each person? And now that'd take me a few hours to go through this. And I go, dear God, can you help all these people that are dying and suffering? But it's not granular. It's not personal. Again, it becomes mass. And I will confess that I do that, but I can't keep up. I simply can't keep up with this. And
No, I agree with you. I agree with, as an elder, you're getting more information from more diverse people in different locations because of the nature of what you're doing. And with this mass media that we have today, I can't keep up. Yeah, I'll be honest with you too. Yeah.
You simply can't. And again, it becomes depersonalized once again, and you can't handle that much stress. It's sort of historically in action, whether it was World War II or even the Civil War, you had about 6 weeks of direct eyeball to eyeball contact. A lot of times just maneuvering and drilling and moving different locations. I mean, we're talking actual battle was about 6 weeks worth in total. Okay. Now they got troops, you move them in there every day, right? Well, all right. We can only handle so much stress, spiritually speaking, as a church body and the like. I think we only can handle so much. And now we're getting all this. It creates a spiritual PTSD.
No, I mean, the statistics prove it. There's more anxiety, more depression in today's society than there were years ago. More young people are committing suicide today than there were years ago. Yeah.
When you see all these things about kids shooting up the school line, I think what really is at base there is they're seeking a sense of control. They're seeking control. Okay, I'm going to take action to control I was bullied at school or whatever.
Right.
And the like. And so they're acting out. This didn't happen when I was a kid. We had rock fights and BB gun wars and that was it. All right. But this is a strange phenomenon. There's something spiritual going on here that it's trying to find a sense of control and a sense of self. Okay. And
but it also relates to the point you made about the fact that the information is thrown out there everywhere. Everyone becomes aware of it. And years and years ago, there wasn't as much diffusion of that information. Yeah.
You had a half an hour of the evening news. Okay. And that was it. And you had a newspaper.
Now you can get it up to the minute, the last 5 minutes. What's going on?
Well, you know what? Think about the Worldwide Church of God back when say the 70s, they would have a program on television. There was only like 4 or 5 channels people would have, and they were probably on most of them. People would write in, receive a booklet, and study that booklet. They didn't have some other booklets to go online to compare it to, or somebody else's. They just had that, right? They studied it, and they went to church. They didn't have the option of watching church from here or there or whoever, or this splinter or this. They just went to church, and they just it was a very different.
That was me.
Time.
I'll tell you what. It was amazing when you found out that there were actually other Sabbatarian churches that existed, or in other countries. I mean, I got a guy that I follow in Pakistan that has a group there, and they're not connected to the Worldwide Church of God or anything at all. We thought we were it because that's all we knew. And frankly, I think even headquarters thought the same way, and maybe there's a little Church of God Seventh Day or something like that. But it was very singular. All right, it was very simple. People are simple. People want simple.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, I'd like to view myself as sophisticated, but I have to unplug. I have to unplug.
Yeah.
I just simply have to, and the like. And so I will advocate that. I think for our spiritual well-being, that we better learn to unplug. Now, that doesn't mean you go the other way, which means I'm going to drop out and join the Amish or something. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not saying that either. But again, we have to be aware of this and what it's affecting us for our spirituality and all that. I don't think, if I were to propose, I don't think this is the way things are going to be like this in God's kingdom. There's going to be some, and I'm not against technology. I'm not against cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is not the way it's going to be. We're not going to have TikTok or something in the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
There'll be vehicles and all that, but it'll be regulated or monitored, or I don't know. I'm not sure. It'll be right because I don't have all the answers. The important thing to remember is this: spiritual maturity. And I see we're moving up towards our hard break. But if I can leave a closing thought, spiritual maturity is saying I don't know, and I don't necessarily have to know.
Mm-hmm.
I trust God to know.
Yeah.
And I will know in the right time if I even need to know at all. And I've got people arguing about the nature of God, how heaven works, and all this.
Yeah.
You know, it's hey, that's right. You know, let's worry about getting there. Let's worry about getting to God's kingdom. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point you're making, that when you go after all these conspiracy theories and prophetic ideas, not that you can't do some of that and look
Yeah.
into it, but when that becomes the focus rather than your day-to-day Christian walk and your love for your fellow man and God, then there's a problem.
Love is lost. I see we're coming up to our heartbreak, but
Yeah.
loss of this is love, and God is love. I know it sounds a little soft, but the truth is, love is lost. We can't let that happen. Don't let love of God and love of man escape you because of all of this information overload.
All right. Hey, thank you for joining us today. We do have to end a little bit early today because this is pre-recorded. So, but we're so glad to have you with us, Bill. Very, very good discussion.
Yeah,
A
good
very
to
good
have you
topic.
back, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much. Enjoyed being here with you.
All right. And we'll say goodbye to everyone until we see everyone next week on another edition of Prove All Things. Goodbye, everyone.